Hi everybody, my name is JoAnn Bradley. I'm out here with the Tactical Performance Center in sunny St. George, Utah. Today I wanted to bring you a new video series. This will be a homework video series. So what we'll do is we'll give you a target, we'll give you the focus behind the drill. I will shoot it so that you have a visual demonstration of how it should be done. And then we want to encourage you to hit the range and give it a try. So really quick before we get started, I want to give two quick shout outs, little TPC love to two individuals out there. First, Dave Cheatham down in Phoenix. He's one of our TPC VIP students who actually gave us this brilliant idea of doing the homework videos. So we want to say real quick, thank you, Dave. Second, Larry, my new coach. Larry, you've been awesome the last few weeks, and I just really quick wanted to say a quick thank you. You're awesome. All right, so really quick, let me tell you the drill. The drill today is going to actually be a warm-up drill. So I thought it would be a good place to start. So what's the first thing that you do out on the range? In my opinion, it should be warm up. If you're asking why warm up, in my opinion, I think that you should know your grip, your stance, your trigger control should be solid. It should be dialed in before you move on to anything else in your practice session. If I find any holes, any hiccups in those three areas, I'm going to stay there. I'm going to get it dialed in before I move on to anything advanced. Now, for warm up, I think it should be simple. So for today, we have one target. We're going to shoot 50 rounds into this one target. We're going to use the 50-50 drill. It's actually one of my favorites. The 50-50 drill is you will load up one round, chamber the round, take out the magazine, and you will shoot one live fire and immediately follow it with a dry fire. Now that dry fire press tells no lies. It'll get you. So if you see any movement whatsoever in that gun, you're moving the gun when you press the trigger. We need to know why. We need to diagnose that. The 50-50 drill is a great drill to use for that. All right, guys, so let's get started with our drill. Really quick first, what distance should you be shooting this target at? Well, that's going to depend on you and your skill level. If you're a beginner shooter, I'm going to encourage you to shoot it at about 3 yards. For intermediate shooters, you could be at 4. Advanced shooters, you can decide what distance you want to shoot this at. What I want to caution you about is make sure that you do not try to be a hero and shoot it at some crazy distance, because two things will happen there. First, you'll get frustrated because you're not hitting the dot. Second, you won't stay focused on what I want you to stay focused on. So pick a distance that you can have a win, because then that's going to allow you to stay focused and feel exactly what we want you to feel on this exercise. All right, so we've got 5 rows of 5 dots on this target. I'm going to give you 5 different things to focus on for each row, one thing for each row. Now, when you actually shoot this, I want you to have 2 repetitions per dot. So we'll have 10 rounds per row. All right, so our first row. First thing that I want you guys to stay focused on in this first row is your stance. I want you guys to build your stance from the ground up each and every single repetition. Break it apart and then step back in and build your stance from the ground up. This is going to give you some good practice to build in that muscle memory of exactly what you should be feeling in your stance. Now, when you're actually shooting, I want you to stay focused on feeling one thing. That one thing is going to be staying relaxed and passive in your stance. Keep your core relaxed, keep your shoulders relaxed, and keep your spine straight. As soon as you start doing any funky business with your stance, you're going to tense up and it's going to be very hard to stay relaxed. So the important thing to remember is we need a comfortable stance that feels good, and then that way it's nice and easy to stay relaxed while you're shooting. This is very important. All right, now for our second row, we are going to be feeling a good grip. We're going to focus on grip. So I want you to build that good grip, and then while you're shooting, I want you to think about one thing. That one thing is a consistent pressure. Now, while you're shooting your live fire and then following it with a dry fire and then a little bit of a pause at the end for what we call follow through, I want you to take note. Did anything change in my grip? Does it feel different? Now, what we want to have is we want to have our hands like a vise. Nothing should change. If nothing changes in our grip, then we can hold the gun still and we can make our shot. When something changes with our grip, that's when we get a little hinky business and we get some bad shots. So your one thing on this row is consistency in your grip, and that nothing changes in that grip. Your grip pressure never changes during your live fire and dry fire. All right, for our third row, I want you to focus on isolating the trigger finger. Now, what does that mean? When we talk about isolating the trigger finger, that means that only the trigger finger moves, not our whole hand. Now, it's easier said than done. This is actually something that's very, very common with shooters. What you have is you will think that your grip is set, but as you start to press that trigger, the rest of your fingers move or loosen just a little bit. And then as you press and finish that trigger press, your whole hand is grasping. And even if it's slight, it's something that's definitely going to affect your shot. So what we can do to help that, what I like to do is anchor the rest of my strong hand fingers. I think about them squeezing back and anchoring, staying set. And you're going to focus on holding those fingers. You're going to present the gun and then tell yourself, only the trigger finger moves, only the trigger finger moves. Nothing else. That is your only focus for that row. All right, so for our fourth row, we're going to talk about vision. Now, you may wonder, a whole row on vision? You know, grip, stance, trigger, obviously those are core fundamentals that should be dialed in on your warm-up. Well, I think vision is one of those core fundamentals. Like a lot of pro shooters have said, you can only shoot as fast as you can see. Well, your vision needs to be dialed up and tuned up just as well as everything else. So before we talk about the vision, first, what exactly should you see? What sight picture should you see to make this hit? Well, again, that's going to depend on you and your skill level. Now, if you're a beginner shooter, you're going to definitely want to have a hard focus on that front sight. What that's going to do is allow you to let your vision balance out and help hold everything else still with your stance, your grip, and your trigger. Now, advanced shooters, they're pretty solid with their grip, stance, and trigger, so they don't need to let their vision help them hold still with these shots, so they can get away with a little soft focus. So it's going to depend on you. Make sure you know and you see the same thing with every shot. All right, now when we're shooting this row, there's two things that I want to make sure that you guys are getting dialed in and watching out for. So first is visual patience. Visual patience means that we need to see the same thing, whatever it is we need to see it on every shot. What happens very commonly with shooters is that we get into a rhythm or a timing where we present this gun and we say, oh, I should be shooting right now. I know I should be shooting. I'm just going to shoot. Did I see what I needed to see? I don't know. I'm going to shoot anyways. Okay, we don't want that. What we need to do is make sure that we have that visual patience and we wait for that visual stimulus before we press the trigger each and every time. So be aware of that. Second thing, now if you're having trouble hitting this dot, there's something that can help. Now what that is making sure that you're watching the sight lift from the dot. Now I can't tell you how many times I've heard at classes, I saw the perfect sight picture, it was perfect. Why didn't I hit the dot? Well, one thing that could have possibly happened was that you did see that perfect sight picture, but you saw it at the beginning of the trigger press and not at the end. You lost track of it, or you just walloped that trigger straight through and you didn't think about seeing anything while you were pressing the trigger. So when you're shooting this row, I want you to think about, tell yourself, I'm going to watch that sight lift. Now what that's going to do is it's going to help you stay visually connected to your sights throughout the whole trigger press. You need to monitor that sight picture while it's floating on the dot, and that's going to help you make sure that you're doing a press that is fitting for the difficulty of the shot. So your press definitely needs to match how well you can visually stay tracking that sight picture. So tell yourself you're going to watch the sight lift from the dot and watch it at the end of the press, not just the beginning. All right, so now for our fifth row. Fifth row, we're going to kind of bring everything together and we're going to work on the draw. So when you're starting with a draw, your first dot, I want you guys to make sure that you're shooting this at a 25% speed. Now what that means is it's the speed of perfection. You feel the perfect grip, you feel the perfect stance, everything is just smooth and perfect. As you start to gradually increase the speed through the rest of the dots, there are two things that I want you to watch out for. The first thing is grip connection. Now, as you start adding speed, something that can happen is that our grip connection doesn't get as solid as we would want. So what I want you to remember is grip trumps everything. Don't ever sacrifice a good grip for speed at the draw. So when we're shooting these dots, what I want you to do is I want you to hold on the target after your repetition. And I want you to be honest. Ask yourself, would this grip hold for another 8 shots? Could I potentially fire 8 shots from this grip? If your answer is no, you need to pay a higher level of awareness of getting that good grip connection before you present out to your target. Okay. Now our second thing that I want you to watch out for, that's tension in your stance when you add the speed. So at the end of our presentation, when we are finishing our presentation right here to our target, what I want you to think about is placing the gun on the target, not throwing the gun at the target. Now what we want is to allow gravity to stop the gun at the end of our presentation. We want to be able to instantly fire that shot as soon as possible. Now what that also does is it helps us stay relaxed in our stance. The more relaxed we are, the better our trigger press will be and the better we can stay visually connected to our sight picture to make our hit. The more unnecessary tension in our stance, the more inconsistent our draw will be. Now remember this, if you're tense, you're going to feel rushed, and if you feel rushed, you will never be consistent. What we ultimately want from our draw is a consistent, reliable draw that we can count on every single time we draw. And making sure that we are relaxed is key to that. So get rid of that tension, get it out of here, and stay relaxed with your draw. Make sure that you're staying aware of your tension in your body. Your shoulders especially, stay relaxed, relaxed core, and remember, keep that comfortable stance to get that. All right, really quick, I'm going to show you a visual demonstration of how we want this drill to be shot. The first demonstration will be for the first 4 rows. The last demonstration, of course, is for the draw at 25% speed, and then increase the speed after that. For the first 4 rows, you're going to start with a perfect grip, perfect sight alignment on your dot. Come back to hand clap position, represent out, and do a live fire, and then immediately follow it with a dry fire shot. Go ahead and do 2 repetitions on each dot. On target, back to hand clap, represent out. Live fire, dry fire, hold for your follow through shot. For the last row, work from the draw. Try to groove your speed a little bit faster after the first couple, but make sure you stay relaxed. Make sure you have good grip connection. Hello. Before we even started with this video series, I had some feedback from a student that said always show your hits. So in case you guys couldn't see from my video, I just wanted to really quick show you my hits. So let's see, there we go. There we go, and there we go. So yeah, this little guy, yeah, don't worry about that little guy. Got a little excited on him. But that brings up a really good point. That is exactly why I want you guys to start at 25% speed and perfection. For me, I'll admit, I wasn't thinking about 25% speed and perfection. So next time, I will. One more thing. For those of you in the desert like me, set yourself up for success by shooting in the shade if you can. That's going in my journal for next time. Set yourself up under some shade and it'll feel a little bit better. You'll stay more comfortable. Remember, we already talked about that, and you'll be able to possibly shoot a little bit better. So thanks, guys. All right, so that is my first video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. We're gonna keep throwing these at you so that you have something new to practice at the range. Please let me know what you thought. Give me some feedback. Let us know how it went when you went to the range and tried the drill. Thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.